Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Magic and Miracles, where you learn how to be the magician of your life. My name is Anna, and I've created magic and miracles in order to help people of all walks of life achieve their manifestation goals. True story. All the information from me is below. If you'd like to be in coaching with me, please understand that you need to book a 1 hour mandatory session in which we go over everything that you have going on right now, everything that you want to work on. Upon concluding this session, if we both feel it's a right match, then you're very much expected to book what's called a signature coaching package. And I recommend 2 to 3 months in this coaching package in order to go through my coaching program. It's unlike any other coaching program. It's a deep dive, it's a boot camp. And we go through everything in this package, starting with your history. I'm very interested in your history, what you lived thus far. I help you process the emotions, behind the drama trauma panorama, as I refer to it, so that you can disentangle yourself emotionally, energetically from that past pattern that chances are right now you're watching because you're living out a pattern. Okay, so it's an energetic process. So I very much employ techniques that perhaps are very, similar to a therapist. However, I am not a therapist. In fact, if you are in therapy, you need to complete that first and then come into my coaching. This isn't therapy because I am allowed to give you instructions. I am allowed to give you my opinion. Okay, so a therapist is not really allowed to give you their opinion. They're just there to ask questions. I am assuming that you're coming to me for my personality, my directness, and because you're really tired of living the same Groundhog Day. So if you let me, I will take you there. Upon disentangling yourself from this energy, I help you embark on the new timeline, this quantum leap that we can achieve together. Is a completely meticulously designed world, as it were. And so in this video, I'm going to give you a taste of how I coach. Okay, I have a very humanistic approach towards coaching. Having done the research for the last 15 years myself on my own journey, and having been the coach for 10 years, I really notice how some people coach, which is completely unrealistic and very frustrating for a lot of people. And so in this video, I will explain how affirmations, what I used to call affirmations, and I got so turned off by this word as a result of the propaganda out there, basically. And now what I call these statements, if you will, whatever you want to call it, you can call them affirmations. I'm just going to call them declarations, okay? I think those of you who have been on my channel for quite some time are familiar with my affinity with that word rather than the affirmation. So I'm going to explain how affirmations are definitely like magic spells. And parenthesis here, I do teach energy work in my coaching. This is not woo-woo, this is not witchcraft, this is very much what it sounds like, energy work. You directing your energy, you exercising your energy the way that you want to create. In other words, you being the master magician of your life, you really should cultivate this rapport between you and the invisible and get familiar with what kind of energy you're shooting out there. And so affirmations alone aren't going to help you, my darling. If you're struggling today with a certain situation, whatever it may be, on this channel we focus on SPs only. And parenthesis here, I have no notes today. This is purely channeled message. And I think I will go on doing things like that because that's how I started. Too many notes, sometimes it doesn't allow for the spontaneity, shall we say. But anyway, I'm going to describe to you how I teach, okay, affirmations, what everybody calls affirmations. To me, it's truly fruitless, in other words, to repeat, whether that be 10,000 affirmations, whether you repeat them falling asleep, however you do it, it's a waste of time if fundamentally your mind hasn't even begun to accept this situation. Okay, it really serves no purpose because you're completely unfamiliar. Your subconscious mind now is completely unfamiliar with what that even feels like. So instead of having the affirmations, putting the cart before the horse, I teach it reverse, if you will. It's not really reverse, it's how it should be. Okay, how it actually should be is that I help you cultivate a world. This entire journey that you're taking to bring back your SP, to have a good marriage, to have your finances stabilized, etc., to recover from some kind of a pattern, is basically what you're doing. You're helping yourself remember who you really are. And I'm sure you hear a lot of that, and you hear me talk about being the golden Buddha, etc. But essentially, bluntly put, is remembering who you were before they fucked you up, okay? Before the mama drama panorama happened. And so personally, that's how I begin. There has to be this memory in your childhood or some time in the past, okay, before things have unraveled the way that they did or happened the way that they did. There has to have been a moment in your life when you were completely pure, completely innocent, completely super ambitious and untouched by this projection of other people's bullshit, okay? Because a lot of people really do project a lot. And if you look at the world and your life, some people just project a lot, okay? Your immediate circle, absolutely, you're responsible for manifesting that. But I would definitely not embark on this assumption that everybody's you pushed out. I think there's some people that literally teach you something that you need to learn along the way. And in that sense, subsection here, I know we're talking about affirmations, but nothing ever goes wrong as long as you know who you are. And so to me, declarations is actually having done the work and processed all of your emotions and having embarked on this reacquaintance or on this kind of like a self-rediscovery about who it is you actually are, what kind of energy is actually yours. What your energy is actually composed of is of that innocence, of that clarity, of that purity, of that ambition, of that limitless power, of that can-do spirit, of that this is my world and everybody can fuck themselves, okay? In the most benevolent of senses. In other words, if somebody's coming at you and giving you some bullshit that you don't deserve, even a people pleaser knows that they don't deserve it, but they play along with this bullshit anyway, because they just haven't yet gotten to know what that energy is and what they should be really, leveling themselves against. In other words, not down here as a people pleaser, but up here as a god of your reality. And so you're really just reacquainting yourself. And so having done this journey of disheveling from those nasty projections that you may have received from your mom, from your dad, from whomever, ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, ex-wives, whatever it happens to be, this is the work you're doing. To remind yourself on a daily basis, this statement that you are going to write out, this declaration, isn't a call to, I gotta memorize this shit, otherwise I'm going to slip up and my mood is going to go wrong. The other way around. I read it one time and it reminds me of the world that I built inside my head, the world that really does belong to me. A lot of you right now are lacking SPs, lacking money, lacking this, that, and the other. But if underneath it all, you had this vision, you had this, again, this direct rapport with what divinity really is, this energetic world that right now is unseen to you, but can start revealing itself to you if you have this solid foundation, solid like the Central Park oak tree, don't you know it, okay, that nobody and nothing can sway you. And this is a declaration, certain things that you can write down that not only having done the work on reacquainting what it is that you want to say, how you want to say it, what specific words turn you on, what specific words turn you on in the sense of emotionally there's a response. You don't need to work hard for it, in other words. So different people, different declaration, different ideas around what words even mean. It's not a call to action, it's a reminder. It's not a call to repeat it over and over. To me, not for nothing, but I'm sure people will agree that if you repeat something over and over again, it loses its meaning. It's evaporated. No, this is a magic spell. Within that sentence, there's so much energy, there's so much emotion, there's so much meaning specific to you. This is why I custom made the coaching towards the person. Having found out everything about their history, I can direct them easier and more, in a way more productive manner than otherwise, coaches have done. And listen, I know that there are some good coaches. I just mean as a rule, okay? There is this tendency to just plaster the same shit on all the people, and this is why so many tapes are out there being sold or just listened to on YouTube, etc., etc. I want to tell you there's an easier way, is all I want to say. And so you'll find, like in my office, I've often spoken about this in videos and audios alike, where I have literal statements. I remember when I had written that statement, what it all meant to me at that juncture in my life, or what kind of manifestation was I working towards, or what does it remind? The flavor of the energy. It's not an empty statement. There's so much concentrated energy, at least that's how it should be. And in other words, when you touch it gently, by touching, I mean you just say it one time, you touch that energy so powerfully that it is like a magic spell. It's like people believe in talismans, whatever you give meaning, however you fucking have to shoehorn your mind, darling, it's all good. In that sense, if it's benevolent, go for it. So I'm just teaching you how to turbocharge your affirmations / declarations so that you don't follow the herd of the people who are so frustrated and not getting any results. It has to be custom made. It has to mean something to you. It has to really remind you of a certain flavor of energy. So this is why, for me personally, like I started out saying, it's a callback. A lot of what I do energetically for my own manifestations is a direct callback to my childhood, how free I felt. Up until age 7, something like that, I thought I ruled the world. I was on top of the world. Like the other day, this is a side note here, I don't know why it's coming to me, but fuck it. Since I'm channeling, I saw this girl the other day. I don't know, she might have been like 4 or 5 years old, around that age when I really, my confidence was skyrocketing. When I was 5 or 6, I was on top of the world. I just learned how to sew and read and all these kinds of different other things, piano, blah, 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 English. So I was becoming this human that had a point of view, and I remember dancing in my house with this red dress, made out of tulle, and there was this girl yesterday that I saw who was wearing a very similar dress, and it reminded me what it felt like to be unlimited, to be on top of the world, to not have doubts, to not have insecurities, to not have fears, to just like glide above the world no matter what is happening. And I very much want to point this out to you. It isn't that you're trying to shoehorn yourself or just kind of like put yourself in this affirmation box. Again, it has to work for you, but it has to really bring you this energy, this reminder, oh yeah, that's who I really am. That's my real world. Just like when I knew no fear, no insecurity, this certainty, this rapport, this is who I really am. Everybody around me can disagree, or just going for the extreme example, everything around me can be collapsing. I don't understand what the fuck is happening, but what I do know is my energy and what my real world looks like. And again, if this is confusing to you, come into my coaching, I will explain more. But the idea is this undiscovered world, if you're struggling in your romantic relationships, with your money, with whatever, you haven't made, and you're feeling unstable. Now, you can be going through certain situations and feel totally cool and stable like a Central Park oak tree, in which case you've achieved that kind of presence, that non-give-a-fuckness, complete unbotheredness, okay? Where it's like, it's my way or the motherfucking highway. So this is the connection you're seeking. But if you're being derailed and you're being affected and you're reacting to the 3D and all of these things are going on within you, you don't have yet a rapport. Again, challenges, sure, but the way you're navigating challenges and how long you let those challenges go on, or do you let them derail you altogether, is entirely optional. Okay, so in the end, your relationship with the world, this energy, who you really are, and specifically, this is so important for empaths, because empaths, as a lot of you know, have this tendency of picking up energy unknowingly. So once you become aware of who you really are, because most of the time, I should say, they don't really know who they are. They're just picking up, energy from here, energy from there. And in the end, it's kind of like they're depleted, they people pleased, and now it's kind of like they don't even know. Anybody can tell them anything and they believe. Reverse that shit. You really have to have the clear idea of what your energy represents, how you really feel in your authentic fashion. Excuse me. So to you, like to me, I gave you an example. It's the 5-year-old in me that dances around the house, being creative, dancing, playing the piano, this and the other. This is very much me. I like to have fun, whatever I'm doing, creatively, artistically, coaching, this and that. I want to have fun. I want to make a difference. This is the passion. This is the connection. This is the energy with which you're going to orchestrate, or rather write down, your affirmations/declarations. It's a callback to who you really are. And so then it becomes no big deal to get into the state, as everybody wants, to be that person. To remind yourself of who you really are. Oh, really? I'm the golden Buddha. Hello, how are you? Good morning. I completely forgot. You can look at your affirmations and be completely transported back into the world. But what I want to emphasize is that, first of all, be careful what you wish for, what you write down. This is a real deal situation. For those of you who say that, scripting doesn't work, hasn't been in my coaching, that's for sure. But what I want to emphasize is that the unveiling of the energy, the deciding what it will feel like, the scripting around it, the recalling of the memories, the composing of the energy of what will go into this affirmation and declaration is done before, not after. You're not trying to get that with repeating an affirmation. You are already coming into the table whilst you're crafting your affirmation with that energy. And so it's inevitable that whatever you will come up with in that moment will be inspired, will be elevating, and will be ever so, like I said, way more productive, way more significant than any such affirmation that you will fish off of YouTube or anybody can give you, or I can give you my own right now, but what does it mean to you? See, for me, again, I want to emphasize, I get inspired by different things, my childhood, again up until age 7, certain periods of my life, certainly, etc., by music. And so I know specifically what kind of energy it means to me. If I give you my affirmations, you will be like, what do I do with this, Anna? It sounds pretty, it sounds magnificent, but it doesn't really mean anything to me. It has to mean something for you. It has to connect with you based on your history, based on what you went through, okay? And it doesn't, parenthesis here still, if you don't know that, it's not a negation. It's an, it's an affirmation. It's not a negation. So you can't say, I don't, or not anymore, or something like this. It has to be, you're affirming it. It's in the present moment. I already have it, kind of situation. And of course, the structure overall of what it should be, you're familiar with. However, I want to very much emphasize that the words that you choose, the energy with which you craft, and the kind of work you do before, that's what makes for a great declaration that is infused with that energy, that's translating to be as powerful as a magic spell. Because you can be in the middle of a shit show situation, etc., and if you concretely remember the feeling with which you crafted this situation, this affirmation, this declaration, that you remember the connection between you and the invisible and how much it's on your side, even though temporarily right now you may not believe this, nothing is showing you that that is so. Slowly but surely, you will remind yourself, okay? But it isn't a matter of repetition. It's a matter of musing, arriving at this energy, allowing yourself to dwell there, get addicted a little bit there, maybe even, and then say the word, and then remind yourself and feel this energy pouring all over you, and be like, oh, that's right, silly me, I completely forgot. I remember who I really am. And that's how I teach. Comment below if it resonates or if you have your own suggestions. And if you have any questions about my coaching, both emails are below. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time. Ciao, ciao.